election.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So
I'm not gonna talk about the plan.
there we go.
I thought Malcolm X was killed by the FBI, or is that? Oh no, I'm thinking of MLK actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I actually don't know that much about Malcolm X. I'm like, that's like a gap in my knowledge.
I've heard a lot. I've listened to a lot of them. I don't know that I would say I've studied his life, though.
Yeah, mostly I know like a couple like sound bites of his, some quotes of his, like especially that talk about the knife in the back. Like it doesn't matter if it's pulled out all the way or even still inserted. So.
Yep.
But yeah. All right.
You ready?
Yep. All right, this is Red Star Radio. Welcome back. This is episode 13. We are now in the angsty teenage phase of our podcast.
13 weeks old.
Soon we're going to start making, not vines, kids make TikToks these days. We're going to start doing the renegade dance. What else is hip? Hoppity, don't stop, the boppity.
I'm not totally sure.
I'm not too sure. All right.
We can start a streaming channel.
Start a streaming channel,
Twitch.
yeah, Twitch channel. Start showing our bodies on Twitch for money. Playing what's the
Fortnite,
and
then
Apex Legends.
start a Patreon.
Yep. All right, but today we are joined by a very special guest, Brian Powers of New Jersey Revolutionary Radio.
Revolution Radio.
New Jersey Revolution Radio.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Brian Powers is an activist within New Jersey. He's been involved. I first heard about him during the Venezuelan coup attempt when he was defending the embassy from basically the fucking police, right? Trying to kick out.
I wasn't there. No, that wasn't me. That was actually at the embassy. Some of our live streamers, Diane Moxley, Tom Violet. I know that Madeline Hoffman, a comrade of ours who's running for Senate with the Green Party, was down there. I was not personally down there, no, but that's the kind of stuff that my comrades and the people that work with and around New Jersey Revolution Radio, do. We go to these actions, a lot of the protests that you see, and we try to tell a little bit more of the story than what you might see in a few second news clip, of people waving signs or whatever. And that particular event and that particular story was not being portrayed in media at all, I don't think, and it was more or less being ignored because it was state-sanctioned violence, and they don't want that on TV.
If I remember, at one point they even I think Fox News even called the actual government officials squatters within the Venezuelan embassy themselves.
Did. And Roger Waters was down there too. Mm-hmm. He got I think he got beat up by the cops. So it was I don't know if Mike Preisner was there, but Veterans Against War. What is it again?
I don't know all the names.
Veterans for Peace.
Veterans for Peace. Yeah, they had a presence there. I know Jesse Jackson tried to deliver food there, and was successful. I mean, did deliver food there, but they had resistance. I mean, there's video of people trying to bring food in and being attacked by these right-wing, counter protesters, whatever.
Well, and the police.
Whatever the hell they were doing there.
Supported by the DC.
Supported by the police. Being supported by the police. Being allowed to block food and the comings and goings of legitimate Venezuelan business at an embassy. And I think that when you look at, the implications, and some of the embassy protectors, of course, that, I've been associated with, and comrades of mine are Margaret Flowers, Kevin Zeese from Popular Resistance. They were on trial for staying in there, and it just ended in a mistrial. We reported that on our Revolution Radio show this past Wednesday with Tom Violet. It was just a scary event, but I'm glad that at least, we attracted people, and it's nice to hear that, there was some positives out of anything negative, and you don't want to spin, anything like positive, but, at least, getting that media out there and starting to let people know that, this is the kind of stuff we follow. That was a story, certainly, that it continues to be underreported, that all the violence across South America continues to be, and it seems like, the Middle East is always the focus, the European crisis crisis always in the focus. Russia's in focus. North Korea gets in focus.
Yeah.
And all these international wars and violence we're involved in. It, for some reason, South America gets a pass, but we're just as involved in violence. Yeah, and it's right in our in our backyard.
The Monroe Doctrine says
people can walk there. You can walk there, and it's scary to know that kind of violence, is coming this way through Mexico, and it is at the border.
Yeah, and especially with the Bolivian coup, like even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doesn't even realize what's going on there because she was posing with the right wingers, the anti-indigenous groups, calling it a grassroots movement, and she has absolutely no awareness of what's going on down there.
Yeah,
Nancy Pelosi's taking pictures, looking like a carved pumpkin next to Juan Guaido. This guy is a biggest goddamn joke. You talk to anybody in any country, South American country, European, you don't know, anywhere, they're gonna be like, the guy's a moron. Why would you be respecting him? There's 30 countries that are recognizing him at this point. 30 out of 190 countries on the face of the earth, roughly.
Yeah. NATO, essentially.
NATO, everybody. Yeah, NATO. Yeah.
I mean, he was so incompetent. He got kicked out of his own party.
He's a joke. He's a living joke. You look at the guy, he looks confused. He's clearly an idiot who's being used as a puppet by the CIA, or most likely he's had, but internationalists, they got, what's the South American conference they got that's always this is why I need my live streamers around, because they always have the details that I forget.
Something like
the South American fascist help group or something.
It's like ALP or something.
Yeah, I want to look this up.
South American Research Center or something. Yeah. Sounds like a think tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, it is.
But they've been steering. I mean, they have a tradition that if a South American country elects somebody whom imperialists don't prefer, all of a sudden they have problems with their democracy, and we need to bring law. As Elizabeth Warren said, we need to bring law and order to South America.
Yep.
Great.
But you know what? I'm glad his revolution failed. But and that video of him trying to climb the fence and the security guard saying "Sir, please stop! You're embarrassing yourself," gave me incredible joy.
It is.
So yeah.
A long history of mental illness. It's I've been I do therapy, and I'm a big believer in cognitive behavioral therapy. My therapist told me to start writing notes, and I hadn't really been taking notes, and more or less because I was busy. I was working at the time, but note taking is certainly and having a journal is really good therapy. It really is. So I talk to myself constantly. Like my wife will tell you, I walk around the house just muttering like a lunatic all the time. So I figured, I'll just record myself talking to myself on the way to work. And, I said some stuff that I thought was interesting, at least. And I played it for some friends. I sent the MP3 to some friends, and they said, yeah, it was interesting. And so I just kind of took it from that and opened up a SoundCloud account, and then, kind of said, well, this might make a good website. And then I think where it really, where New Jersey Revolution Radio really took off was when I took on a partner, Heather Warburton, who's half owner of the company, and she, we manage the company basically through videos and emails all day, and it really took off from there. She started doing her Wine, Women, and Revolution podcast. So at that point, we're carrying 2 shows. We have a website, and we just announced a video production company on Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
So it's and now it's not my company anymore. If you're a good organizer, you kind of work yourself out of a job, and I enjoy that work now. At first, I guess early as a younger man, it was hard seeing your creations taken away from you, but as you gain experience and you see it happen, and then some of these creations gain life anyway, and you realize that you're not that important anymore, it becomes cool, and and now I'm really just enjoying watching, New Jersey Revolution Radio. There's people, we have an artist in the South putting on a show who's organizing this tour we call Arts and Activism. I did one up here in New Brunswick. Now he's going to do an Arts and Activism in Sicklerville. I'm barely involved in it. I had a little video conference with the guy, gave him access to our network, and said, listen, we're here for you. We'll help you do the promotions. But really, the day to day, he booked the hall. He's getting the artist, and to know that I've got a network going now that artists, that activists are using as a platform for their work and their own work. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's it. I'm done. I won.
Yeah, it's like feeling like grow organic. It's like watching your child like take its first step.
It really is. It really
become
is.
Independent.
Yeah. We're there now, and it feels great. And it's somewhat self-sustaining. We need money like anybody else.
Yeah.
But even that is becoming becoming part of the organization's mindset of understanding it's a business and it needs to pull in resources so that we can properly grow and create an establishment that's not I hate to be I use that word, we want to be outside the establishment, but that's what I feel like the left needs. Establishments, we got to stop being book clubs and shit like that, man. It's not going to create a revolution. You need media, you need educational systems, you need you need systems outside the current ones.
Power,
right?
Alternate modes of power, essentially. Or just like, you can't run a revolution through, like you said, you can't run it through the book clubs. You need like stuff, things, connections, manpower, organizations, to be able to make things happen. Like, it's not just because everyone believes in it and believes in the same thing doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Right.
So I think that like that sort of organizational work is incredibly important for basically building the blocks for the revolution to come. And where did you think like you got like the sort of did you ever think that NJR was ever going to be this big, or is it just something like you just start off just being like, let's just talk with friends or record myself talking? Did you ever plan for it to become this big sort of network?
I dream big, yeah. I mean, maybe when I first started, I thought maybe this will be a little podcast that I'll do as a side project. At the time, I was working full time, and I have 5 children, so I have a family and a wife and kids and all that. So maybe when it first started, but I think when I started putting together the website and started working with Heather, it definitely was like, this can be humongous. This can be a full-sized media company someday that employs a lot of people and does revolutionary work. So I don't think small when I do stuff like this. I always think big.
Okay.
Yeah. So you kind of started out like wanting to make like a leftist network, almost like how you would think like of a TV network or a film studio.
Yeah, I think of a network is basically what I've built, and a network that provide with real tangible resources. Something that people who are working against capitalism, working against racism, working against the current system can come to and initially publicize their work. Right, so that's what NJR Live and Wine, Women, and Revolution did as our podcast and live stream entities. So if you were doing work, we could highlight it. You could come to us and say, hey, MLU's running a protest, come to New Brunswick, or we're feeding the people under by the train station. So come on out on Sunday nights, right? They still do that, right? It's Sunday nights in New Brunswick. So, Polina came out and publicized that. So, that's it. Now the next step in that evolution is being able to help these groups produce good content, right? And so like it's really exciting to be here and be on Red Star Radio and talk to you guys and maybe I'm not saying I'm a celebrity. You'll do better, get Cornell West and stuff like that, but at least having being able to come out and help other people use that network as a resource, or if you can encourage you to do some fundraising, maybe come out and help us do a short film about something. We debuted a trailer about a man who came out as gay in his 40s as a minister in Texas.
Yeah, you still got to show me that. But we can link it in like the description below too.
Yeah, it's on the web. It's on our YouTube and all that stuff. So it's out. It's if you look at njrevolutionradio.com or check out our Facebook page or anything, we're all over the place. You'll see that movie trailer. We produced a trailer in order to help raise funds to produce a full-length documentary documentary. And we can do that for organizations, and we work with organizations on scale. If you got a small business, you will pay a rate. But if you're a comrade and you're doing some work, we do our best. Help us raise money, and we can now help you do these videos, make your organization look better.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like one group I know called Means TV. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Yeah, so they're like a YouTube channel almost, but like they take on like Patreon funds, and like they kind of group all these funds together to distribute to like artists over the internet, like animators. And, like little YouTube videos.
All right,
like,
cool. Yeah.
Another like sort of like network too, but you should check them out too.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. And so you've really like built up this network from the ground up, and as you mentioned that you have like a job, and before the interviews you told us about how you didn't start off, you had a job and then you discovered communism outside of it, right? Which is, I guess, my criticism of a lot of communists is that they start off as like armchair communists and then they get a job and then they don't know how to make it work, right? So
yeah, I can imagine it's a confusing way to go about life,
time, right? Yeah, they have like no life experience. So my question then is like, how did you discover communism? I guess that's like, what's your coming out story in terms of communism?
I did. So I was grew up in a town known as a White Island, which there are plenty of in New Jersey, as I learned later. But you kind of isolated as a kid, so I didn't know. It was just where I grew up. It was all white people, and so my first experience with like a multicultural environment was when I joined the military. So going into that experience, I was pretty right wing. I listened to Rush Limbaugh. I would have arguments with my dad. My dad was in a union and be kind of on the right of my dad, who's more or less a liberalish guy, right?
Yeah.
And then I went in the military, and then I got exposed, and I went in the military under Clinton in between the major Iraq wars. Did a couple of tours into the Middle East, and the main point, I wasn't politically aware at that time, but I did start to have social interaction with people who did not have the background that I did. It's very diverse backgrounds, mainly people with low income backgrounds, but there were the rich kids there too, and the GI Joes, and I might have been fallen into that little bit of myself. I think that's where I might have fallen, a white kid from the burbs that kind of just didn't want to go to college, to be honest with you, but wanted to do something with his life, and I was a little gung-ho about it all. I wasn't that bad. I wasn't running in there. I wasn't driving a Ford truck with American flags off the back kind of stuff, but I was patriotic, if you will. I'm proud to be an American. I don't think it's kind of hard to join a military outfit if you haven't been brainwashed to some degree by our culture. But I come out, actually more liberalish, and the Clinton years were good economically, a facade. Everybody thought we were doing good. So I remember coming out of the military, 4 years, the economy was doing great, apparently. Again, big joke, came a little bit later, but I had headhunters, man. I had people calling me. I was on telemarketing lists saying, do you want a job? There's a place near you that pays $20, $25 an hour. It literally took me like a couple of days before I'd landed a $20 an hour gig building semiconductors. And I had gotten a union job maybe 3 or 4 months after I got back working for the phone company through my father. So good times, right? So I started looking at the Democratic Party as maybe these people know how to run stuff better. Although later on, I realized it was all a joke, and Clinton had really screwed everybody hard, right? But as a white guy with all but as a white guy with all this privilege and a young family with a decent job, I didn't care. I got into the union movement, and at the phone company I worked at, IBEW Local 827 was my local. Got involved as a shop steward, and I really just started sticking up for the guys that I work with, and that turned my politics really to the harder left, from what you would say. I walked and voted for Obama. I walked for Obama the first time. I think I just voted for him the second time because I'd started to get disillusioned around Wisconsin and Occupy. So that was another part. That was another, I guess, moment for many in my generation. I'm 43 years old, so Occupy is going back now a ways, and I'm meeting people that were very young when Occupy happened. But for a guy my age, that was a turning point. I went there, I met people, I banged some drums, and it was an awareness that the system was wrong had finally arisen. And it occurred to me and many others that, hey, you notice this shit too, right? right? Like, why is everybody telling us that the economy was so good, yet we started paying more for our healthcare benefits? And everybody started getting loans for these houses. I knew dudes making like 35 to 80 grand a year, right? In that pay range here in New Jersey, buying $400,000 houses. What are you doing, dude? Like, how could you even imagine? And I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
I knew something was wrong. And I'm a dumbass. I didn't study to know how. This is just common sense to me. The country was delusional, it was. So, Occupy was that everybody who knew something was wrong started to get together and educate each other. And the activism that you see in New Jersey, my comrades here in New Jersey, Green Party, Diane Moxley, Madeline Hoffman, me, Tom Violet, Ginger Heater, who works for a labor union now. She helped us found 15 Now.
That one right there behind you.
Ginger, yeah. Oh my God! Is that Don's?
That is Devin, the Indian guys.
Yes, I made that.
Yeah.
On the printer that's buried in my basement right
Shit. Yeah, he lent that to me and then he never took it back.
Take
so
it.
like,
That's a collector's item right there. Yeah. So that all came out of Occupy. All those comrades that I just mentioned, they all went to Occupy, got inspired at Occupy. Occupy obviously wasn't linked very well and wasn't organized very sturdily.
No, it was not.
It was like the big.
One night of stormtroopers took care of that.
Yeah.
Essentially a coordinated nationwide assault by our good friend Barack Obama. Took care of the original Occupy, but I always like the saying that they just wind up spreading seeds is really what they did. And I think those seeds are now taking root in the Bernie campaign, in communist organizations, in anarchist organizations all over the left, so to speak, because we got scattered and went back to our groups, but we went back to our groups and our lives with more political awareness. And it took a decade, 13 years since Occupy for that to grow.
Yeah.
It was 2011, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
like
man.
2011,
Yeah.
2010.
2011, so
I was in high
9
school
years.
when that happened.
Yeah, I remember watching it on YouTube and like
9 years. So yeah, and so I was 34, and I had a corporate job. I'd been fighting with unions for a while. I'd been on strike, and I'd seen what happened when corporations take on the working class for no reason other than to be greedy fuckers.
Yeah.
And I saw that, and that all contributed to me getting to where I am today. And I've never been a very studied communist. I don't know anybody that's ever read Das Kapital because that's unreadable. I've read the manifesto. I've burned through some books in my time. I do like reading. I haven't read in the last few years because of time and kids. I'll be honest with you. So my studies have really fallen behind. But when I was reading, I would say in my mid to late 30s, I just tried to I took in Tolstoy. I always loved The Kingdom of God is Within You. The manifesto always impacted me. And there's other, just a lot of short essays. Mao, combat liberalism seems like a good guideline for professional behavior, I think. So even in my work and even in my profession, when I go to work for like paid money, I try to follow combat liberalism quite a bit. It's an easy to follow, easy to read guideline. So there's communist writing
done.
Yeah, what needs to be done? Yeah,
On Practice by Mao is also a fantastic reading.
that's my comrade Pat Fahey's favorite. He always recommends On Practice.
So good.
It is.
It's absolutely amazing.
So that's and even in On Practice, he tells you get to work. So I've always focused as a working class guy, comes from a background of climbing telephone poles and being in manholes and stuff like that. I got my education there, and I get most of my political academic education secondhand. I talk to academics. I hang out with them. I listen to them. I go to seminars. I do read. Margaret Kimberly just wrote Prejudential, that great book. She was on the show. So I try to rub elbows with people smarter than me, to keep up on that. But I like having that working class perspective on the left because, like you said, there's people that come into it from a different angle, and so I think that angle has value too, though.
Yeah, of course.
You know, but it can't squeeze out people that work for a living.
No.
Yeah, because then what's the point of, you know,
People who have actual experience understanding what the actual life is like for them, you know?
Yeah.
It's, I think that a lot of them, a lot of academics imagine like a perfect communist scenario. Like if I just have this perfect vision of people in society that ignores what is really going on in life. I think that's the main problem. And they just sort of come off as like these like outsiders and who are like just coming with, and they try to order everybody
these ivory
around.
tower outsiders.
Yeah, ivory tower academics who just boss everybody around.
I mean, like, you don't need to be like so knowledged and learned to be a socialist or a communist, because that's what it is. It's a working class movement, you know. So it's like you don't need to read to be a socialist. You just need to be aware that there's a problem with capitalism and be living under those issues in that condition.
It helps to read.
Yeah.
You know, it helps to read. I mean, without theory, right, is what Lenin said. So without theory, you can't have any kind of revolution. So revolutionary theory is important, but that can come later. You know what I'm saying? It could come at any time, and if it comes early, that could be a positive too. But I always recommend some reading and some study, especially in an environment that, you know, we're brought up in. So it does come later. But I think also, you know, like you said, like if that academic thinks they can come in, it's really, and this is where Castro really needs to be paid attention to, because Castro is very adamant, always about material resources and social conditions.
Yep.
And he really didn't give a lot of strength to theory. And he famously said, and I think it's true that, you know, he was more of a communist because he was getting support from Russia at the time of the revolution. So it was a marriage of convenience for Castro, but also it turned him into a real communist. But before the revolution, he was saying, I'm not a communist, and I think he meant it. And even after the revolution, he was saying, listen, I came to communism through this revolution because communism was rooted in the social and the economic conditions that we wanted for our people. You know, and that's, so I think that if an academic or somebody with that perspective of, you know, I know what needs to be done, so just let me be in charge, I think you need to maybe look up some Castro and look at why he became a communist. It's because he provided material goods. He could provide food.
Results.
He could provide a military that protected him from an imperialist power with 90 miles away. He could keep them safe. He provided things and stuff, tangible things, not a philosophy that if you follow me, it'll all be okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a cult.
Exactly.
Not a government system.
He provided results. Really, that's the end of it. Yeah.
Here, let's pause right here real quick. I'm just gonna save and start a new.
So going back to your show, you said your host, you're talking about your co-host Heather. How did you two meet? Like, how did you guys get started?
Through the Green Party.
The Green Party?
The Green Party. We came to each other through the Green Party. She was, I live up here. I live in Woodbridge, so I live in Middlesex County. She's down in Hamilton, which is in Alabama. And it's down there. Yeah. South Jersey. It is the blueberry capital of the world.
Yeah.
So that's what it's famous for. And so we met through the Green Party work, and she served as the state chair for a period of time while I was the membership chair. And I just saw somebody that worked very hard, had a lot of passion and a lot of just she did what she said she was going to do. Like, she showed up, and that's 90% of success. You know what I'm saying? And then she left didn't leave the Green Party, but she stepped down from the chair position. And I had another conversation with a friend of mine. Chair squeaking, that's going to drive you crazy. And I talked to her about Jacobin, and I had asked her, she was a DSA member and she had some friends at GSA, and I said, how's this Jacobin doing so well? I'm watching, it's got material subscriptions, good coverage. I enjoy the articles. I think it's okay written. I think it's, it's a little liberalish. But I've also read some Jacobin, which I appreciate. So it was more just kind of less about the how's the circulation. And she told me graphic design. They have like 4 or 5 full-time graphic designers that sit around all day and just make sure that this thing looks beautiful and everything that they put out is appealing to the eye and gains traffic. And it started me on this thinking pattern as I was getting ready to launch the website of, okay, how do I make this visually appealing so that people get the message? And I think we can poo-poo that sometimes, like, oh, you should just be smart enough to read my smart words. And that might be the academic, kind of opinion that it's smart, so read it. Well, it's not how people work. The reason why the color red is so awesome is, 1, it stands for communism, and 2, it invokes an emotional response that's related to taking action. In other words, you're going to get up off your feet seeing red more than likely if you are seeing black. That's led me to think about, who do I know? Well, I know this really hardworking, amazingly talented graphic artist in Hamilton, and who I was already friends with. I proposed that she come along for this little journey with me, and she accepted, and we own the company 50-50. It's a worker-owned model. We're the only 2 full-time right now. So what happens is you can work with us for a while, and then you can be considered under a worker, to become one of the worker owners under that model. It's a communist worker owner model, not an anarchist one. But it's working right now for us, and for the people that we work with, our streamers, Diane Moxley, who comes in every week like clockwork to do a live show with us. Madeline Hoffman, Christian Perez, Zelly Thomas is going to be on the show next week. It's been on before. It's just like become this kind of cast of activists, that can show up and support what we do on a weekly basis.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, I was just so entranced by what you were saying. I lost my train of thought.
I know. It can be, yeah. That's my silky smooth radio voice.
Smooth.
Yeah.
In practice.
Until you're a pro.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Do you have a show or something?
Yeah.
You can see I keep people riveted.
Yeah. Speaking of your radio voice, is that something that you cultivated?
Yeah.
Is that something that you were like, I think this will sound nicer if I talk this way? Mm-hmm. What are your favorite techniques to be able to your pre-show techniques? Do you have any?
A little bit. I do smoke some weed, and I pay attention to the tone of my voice. I try to keep it even. I'm deaf. I'm hard of hearing.
Yeah.
It's not deaf, not legally deaf, but I'm going there. Probably got about 15 years left before I can probably get legally. I have constant tinnitus, and I get excited too. Yeah. I tend to yell, and I peek out mics a lot. I will get that red dot, and then I was playing it back, and I would get the, I hope that came through. Did I peek it?
I think you just did.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't blow it. So I was getting a lot of that. So I've learned to talk from my diaphragm. Yeah. I've learned to keep my tone more level. I've learned to try to keep my face pointed at the same direction while I talk. I've learned not to sit in a squeaky chair.
Yeah, that's something.
It went away.
Well, normally we would provide the other chair, but it's a bit occupied right now.
Yeah.
She's a bit of a lightweight.
So
our live studio audience.
it's it was a learning process.
Yeah.
It's a skill.
It is a skill.
Just like anything else and making anything else.
Controlling your voice is an instrument. I'll never be a good singer, but I've gotten better at being able to control my tone and the level of my voice as I go through. And that lends itself to the same kind of conversation about the color and the visual appeal. Your vocal appeal is part of a podcast, and people are not going to listen to you if you're annoying.
Yeah, that's part of the craft. And
you have an annoying voice.
Making it an enjoyable
content. If you have the Ben Shapiro voice, actually, I have to say that I think you're wrong.
His breathing is so annoying.
When
Pete Buttigieg just does that too. Every time he speaks, he goes.
Well, I a lot. I still a lot.
I do that. For me, I always notice afterwards that I say, so yeah. As I was saying.
But that's very normal now, I think.
Snap a rubber band.
Yeah.
Especially younger people.
Good idea.
Everyone's always or you know what I'm saying? It's kind of colloquial now.
It is a very colloquial thing, yeah, to just drop that. To fill up empty space, basically.
Yeah.
There we go again. With the dead space.
Supposed to say words for the I know a guy. I leave the ums in. I don't over edit too much. I do every once in a while when I hear myself say like 4 or 5 times in a row. I'll do the little cut and slip it out of there. I know.
That's why we do the claps, just like a sync or like a clapboard.
Well, I just cut it and. Just do that. But I know a guy that took out all his ums from like one and then stuck them together, so he's got like 3.5 minutes of
Yeah, we tend to record ours like it's live. We just put in the music beforehand, put in the music afterward, after music, exit music, and then we just take out anything like too egregious that we say.
Yeah, too long pauses. Like if we gotta go up and get the bathroom, we'll just
we do the same thing with NJRI Live, but we live stream that, so you can actually catch all the flubs and stuff on the live stream, and then you might catch a couple of edits there for the podcast. Yeah. But we don't have, we don't have the studio time and the budget to spend 12 hours.
Yeah. So you like to, before every show, you say you smoke weed, right? Like,
sure.
How did you get into like the weed smoking or the weed smoking? How did you say? I know you have a medical license,
right?
And what led to that? Like, if you're okay with talking about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was smoking weed for years,
because
off and on.
New Jersey isn't really a medical. Like, you don't really hear about people talking about their medicinal weed in New Jersey.
Yeah, and it used to be so strict when it came out. It was
the law sucks.
They get to have like glaucoma or something. Or like
the law itself is poorly written and doesn't really take care of patients too well. Now, I've been smoking weed for years, and I never really thought of it as medicine. I was just a pothead. But I do have some anxiety disorders, and what I found as I started talking to people in the medical program was the different strains affect you differently. And I never really knew. I was never into weed. I'll be honest with you. I just kind of stopped by my guy and grabbed my weed and went home, and that was it. And I smoked what I got. And I noticed that there were times where I really enjoyed it and it relaxed me, and there were other times where it kind of freaked me out. I'll be honest with you. I didn't enjoy it. And there came times where I quit and then went back to it or whatever, because I remember kind of getting a little paranoid on it and stuff. So I put it down, and then somebody told me, well, you're probably smoking some sativa or some weed that got to you. So when I got my medical card, I started trying to pay attention to the strains and how they affected me, and I did find, in fact, that when I stick to the more indica base or the kind of like hybrids, they all affect me differently, and so if I now that I have a legal card and I can do like take it like medicine, it helps me with my anxiety and depression. I still take some other stuff, and I go to therapy, and it's not a cure-all, and I don't want to sit here like, and honestly, listen, if you just want to smoke weed, anxiety, everybody has anxiety. It's capitalism. So go to the doctor, get a card, and treat your anxiety. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really care about the medical, but for me, it's helped me deal with anxiety and depression. I've adjusted other medication accordingly and that kind of stuff. It's just kind of a part of my daily habit. I'm an addict. I got a lot of other problems in life. I'll tell you what, smoking weed's like one of the least worst things I do, and it does help keep other addictive disorders in check a little bit. It's my bad boy thing, Cool for doing it. Like I do. There's that aspect of I used to smoke cigarettes, and so it's a bit of replacement therapy for me. So there's a lot of aspects to it. It's just kind of I just smoke weed like most, like your grandma smoked Pall Malls, man.
Yeah, at some point it becomes like coffee.
It really is.
It's just your routine.
Yeah, I'll have to, going back to work full time. I'll have a job where I have to concentrate and stuff. So I'm at work full time. But I've been working for myself for a year and a half, and I've had the pleasure of being able to work stoned. So fuck it.
Fuck it. Speaking of fuck it, the actual only time I've ever been able to like talk to you about weed is actually when my mom was reading the newspaper, and she's like, wow, this guy got arrested for weed. So I'm talking, and I'm like, oh, I know this guy. That's Brian. So it was reading the article. It was such an insane story. Like, you basically, well, you experienced it first, and so from what I've heard, basically, it was you were on public property where people were smoking cigarettes. You had your legal medicinal weed.
Yep.
and the fucking pigs just arrested you anyway.
No clue what the law was. No clue what was going on. The guy came up to me like mad as hell, like with rage in his eyes. He didn't even know me. Like, I'll be honest with you, at that moment, I don't even know if he knew we had a medical program and that it could be legal. I think he's just that stupid.
He was just like, this motherfucker lit up a joint right in front of me. How dare he?
Took it as you could totally tell the whole time that like the reactions and the comments from them when they were making offhanded comments in my presence, they were just pissed I was smoking near the pot. You know, and I had no idea I was near the pig pen. I didn't know that's a giant building. If you look where I was, there's no sign there. There's no big shield. There's no big sheriff's department, nothing.
So it wasn't like some act of protest. It was just like...
No, I stepped out for a puff. I do this. And this is the thing. Like, I guess I had my card for a while. And when you first get it, it's like, okay, I can do this in public, right? And I'm watching the doors and I'm making sure that and I start smoking in public. And I did a couple of officers right in New Brunswick, man, right? The same town I got busted in. Now, this was a sheriff, Middlesex County Sheriff. But New Brunswick town cops have seen me and walked right fuck by. Newark cops have seen me and walked right the fuck by.
Oh, well, Newark is all just because, like, as long as you're not killing anybody, they could care less.
They got bigger
smoking.
Things,
and I know, well, and then when I started, and after this happened, I started talking to other people, and they similar experiences. There are plenty of police out there who just will look at you or maybe ask you for credit. There's also a lot of experience out there where cops are harassing patients, don't understand the law, locking people up, and it's a mix. And I guess I don't know how the training is going out. I don't know, and we could get into the larger conversation of abolishing police or whatever. But let's just say for now, the police that we have don't even understand the law. The law's first word is compassion. Compassionate use of medical marijuana. That's the name of the law, CUMA. And if you read the guidelines in the law, you're supposed to approach somebody who has medical marijuana as if you were approaching somebody who might have a bottle of prescription pills. You take a look at the bottles, it's their name on it, whatever. Okay, have a nice day. And that's when you read the law, the intent of the language in the laws clearly states this. And he didn't follow that. He slapped cuffs on me. He came running out of the building. He couldn't get the cuffs on fast enough. He had no clue why he was arresting me. He just told me that the prosecutor said to arrest him. And I said, this is legal. He goes, I'll show you the code. I'll show you. They never showed me the code.
Was this at like the courthouse?
Yeah, right outside. Dragged me in, yelling. I'm like, you fucking pigs, you fucking pigs. Whatever. And so that's it. And then 3 of the charges have already been dropped. I just faced one more stupid charge that they claim I spit on them. I didn't spit on them. So it's a very difficult charge to prove.
Yeah.
So I'm not really worried about it. I'm pretty sure in the end this is all going to get thrown out and we're going to move on. I basically said I won't sue you if you drop all the charges.
Yeah. What you should do is...
You're going to make me fight them, man. If I spend a dime of my money on anything or an attorney or something like that, then I have no choice but to sue them.
Yeah.
I'm already annoyed and I should probably sue him anyway. But
what you should do is after you get out, find where his car is parked and just light up a joint right in front of him.
We went back and I smoked all over the whole building before my court date. Did you know that? Did you see that protest?
No, I didn't see that.
You didn't see what happened. So consequently I had a court date and it got pushed back. But Sativa Cross, NJ Weedman, and a lot of the medical patient community got around me and really offered me a lot of support. I got a lot of messages. Daniel Loa from HeadyNJ.com wrote an article about that, followed me around and did some great. So really a lot of people, and some I didn't even know. So Ed Lefty Grimes and his partner Michelle Burns, who's in a wheelchair, an MS patient, came out with me for my court date, and we rolled her around, and she was smoking weed in her wheelchair, and Ed and I were trying to get her arrested, and we kept reporting. The plan was to taunt the cops and beg them to arrest a woman in a wheelchair for smoking weed like they arrested me. They did not do it, and we were literally. There's this on YouTube, and I'm yelling at him. I found one of the cops that I said that it was the one that arrested me. He wasn't the arresting officer, but he was just some dick that I saw while I was getting dragged through the tombs over there. And I said, there's one of the fuckers that arrested me. Arrest her. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So we went right where I smoked, and we were just, they were walking by, and we were, come on, we were calling them pigs. Arrest her, please. She's breaking the law. That stuff stinks. All kinds of stuff. And they didn't. And so, and actually the reaction from the police and from them all around showed me that it worked. Like they get that this dude messed up when he arrested me. I think they did, and I'd like to know that they did by seeing that last charge dropped.
Hopefully, yeah. It sounds like just some shitty cop on a power trip, or maybe just had a bad day, or just
the chief has to call him in, like reprimand him, like what are you
pounds
doing?
his desk, like God damn it, Jones, this is the third arrest
You're
this
off
week.
the case.
This is a result of small male genitalia.
Yeah.
That's been my theory. That's been my ongoing theory, and I did stop saying his name in public and just refer to him as Officer Tiny Dick.
Officer Dick. Nice.
Officer Tiny Dick. And I'm hoping that reputation, along with the fact that they have no legal grounds to prosecute me on anything, will we'll get them to just drop this last charge. And
hopefully,
just move on with my life, man. Because it's honestly like it's almost kind of silly now. And if they're taking it that seriously, like maybe please, I hope you've learned your lesson. I'm done yelling at you. Just drop the fucking charges. I promise.
Just say that in court.
Just say it in court. Just get rid of that. Stop bothering me, and I'll stop bothering you.
Yep.
It's that simple.
Yeah, but like, who's still behind it? Like, still trying to get these charges pressed on you?
The prosecutor.
Like,
well, it's up to the prosecutor.
Doesn't like all these people should like realize how stupid they are for.
They're trying to say there's also an element of people trying to save face sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe not knowing what I was going to go with this. Maybe they think they're going to back. And this is how plea bargains work. You go and you plead. Eventually, you're like, whatever. I'll plead guilty. All right, get me out of here. Even if you didn't do nothing wrong. And that's not really the way justice works.
Yep.
But it's the way our justice system works. And if you have money to fight something, look, if I had money, I could just hire a lawyer and never go to court and just fight this and get out of it.
Yeah.
No, I ain't got no money. I got to go to court. I need a public defender. I got to fill out paperwork. I got to do all this stuff. So whether you get justice or not depends on if you have money or not. I don't have any money right now. So, I think my best tactic right now is just being an ass in public. It seems to be working.
Humiliate them.
I'd rather stop though. Now I'm good. I had a lot of fun.
Or you know what? Maybe the cop is just like into public humiliation, and he was like, "Oh shit, man! Like if I arrest this guy for weed, like he's gonna make fun of me." Ooh.
It's just like licking leather.
Nobody likes to get bullied. I didn't like to get slapped in cuffs, thrown against the wall, and put in a cell for 4 hours for taking my medicine. And he don't like getting called Officer Tiny Dick.
Yeah.
So
except when you do it to them, it's funny.
yes.
Like
But it's social pressure, right? And you know what? The next time he goes to treat a patient the way he treated me, he might not want. He might think, "God damn it! I got called Officer Tiny Dick for 3 years in the locker room."
Yeah. No. See, Blue Lives Matter, so cops can't have that thought that they might be reprimanded for their job. Otherwise, they might not do it.
I don't think anybody.
Vote blue no matter.
I don't think his coworkers or his family or anybody really liked him. He looked at somebody who's been unliked for a long period of time.
The outcast of the department.
Yeah, so it is what it is. It's in their hands. They can do what they want. I'll play ball, but I'm not guilty of nothing, so I'm not going to say guilty. And if it makes them miserable for me not to follow the rules,
it's
just
the unspoken rules.
Yeah.
What I'm doing. What I'm doing is free speech.
Yeah.
Well,
Free speech for smoking weed.
that's it.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on past the weed,
All right.
past the cops.
Before we get triggered.
Before we get too triggered by pigs. And
Justice in America.
Give you another 20 minutes where we start talking about barbecues and
Okay.
getting
Barbecues
things
and
ready.
baseball games.
Barbecues and baseball games.
I smoke weed there too.
Yeah. But
I wonder if the NJ Transit law where you could drink on the train. I wonder if that could also be applied to like vaping or like smoking.
yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Or even on the platforms, because technically it's not smoking, because the law relates to tobacco and tobacco products. So if it's weed,
Not in New Jersey, basically, you can't smoke weed where you can't smoke cigarettes. It's basically the law is basically written that way. So if you're in a public space, you can't smoke on a school bus or in a train or anything like that. Yeah, if it's no
like
smoking.
if there's like a loophole.
Plus, look, I'd like to be a courteous weed smoker. I don't want to be in spaces where it's going to annoy other people. I've always said that about cigarette smokers. I don't want to be around. I'm not a big fan of cigarette smoking. I like that they go outside in bars now and stuff like that. And I would give myself the same. Weed does stink to some people. I don't know what's wrong with those people, but to some people, it's not a pleasant odor. And I think we should probably do our best to be good citizens and let our non-weed smoking comrades enjoy air free of cannabis. More for me.
Yep. More for me.
Yes.
Maybe they could just have a hot box car.
There you go.
At the end of the
Now
day,
you're
you know?
thinking.
The hot
Yes, I
box
like.
car. It's like you have the car for females only, and then after that,
The quiet car.
the quiet car, the hot box
and
car.
the hot box car. Yeah.
There you go.
That's good. That's good. There's a YouTube video of a guy putting like big 3 ounces of weed into a leaf blower and blowing it. Yeah. I like it.
Or what's it? The fucking tent thing that people lift up and you get underneath it.
Yep.
And they hotbox
that
the
was,
whole thing up.
The Facebook video.
Yeah, the video where like the cop goes underneath it and like 45 people run out from underneath the
Never
tent.
liked that. We used to do that in the car when we were kids, and you just cough. You just can't breathe.
And then once he starts breaking out the cigarettes, and then
Oh yeah.
Oh god, it
Nuts.
just gets noxious and gross smelling.
Now, how does it work in Amsterdam though? I know they have the weed cafes. Can you smoke in those?
I believe so.
yeah.
I've never been. You've been there, or are you?
No, from what I've heard, you can just smoke inside.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they have indoor areas and things
Yeah.
like that. You're gonna see stuff like that. I think maybe
Yeah, I can't
pop
wait
up
for that
here,
to
where
happen.
and I think that's appropriate. That's cool. You have consumption areas. I'd like to go.
Mm-hmm.
I drink a lot. Weed makes you tired, man. I mean, so it's you notice me. I run on a couple of different chemicals. Caffeine and THC happen to be amongst them. So it'd be cool to have some cafes where we could go and enjoy some coffee and a joint, man.
An upper and a downer together. It's like the hipster version of cocaine and heroin at the same time.
Well, I go to the coffee house in Edison. There's a safe consumption area there, and sit down and bring my coffee out there. It's it's cold out though. It'd be nice. And when you consume medicine, a lot of these patients and stuff, MS, heart conditions, stuff like that. You really can't be out in the cold. And you want to go out. And weed is a social drug. I think it's something you're supposed to smoke with friends and enjoy. And I would never share my medical marijuana. That would be illegal. But I'm just saying, if you're with other patients and you can legally consume, let's get there. Hang around. It's therapy for anxiety and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, just like cigarettes used to be.
Just like
And
alcohol.
it's so much of a better alternative than alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, to be honest.
Alcohol is a social lubricant in the same way weed is, but alcohol is more like grease, whereas weed is, like a little bit of water.
A little bit more to get things going. Alcohol is just
The
like,
wash is over, but alcohol just dissolves it.
Yeah.
it's really like puts a fire in
Maybe
there.
social acid as opposed to a social lubricant.
There we go. All right. So yeah, so going into the political section. This is a really shitty segue.
No, that's cool.
Going to the politics. Have you been following the Democratic primaries?
As little as possible.
As little as possible.
As little
I'm
as-
so
enough to make memes and laugh and
Yeah.
and make poorly thought out jokes.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for you, we've been following it until our brains have turned
I
into mush.
noticed some drips on the floor. I figured it looked like
Yes.
brain matter.
Yes. Unfortunately, because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's so hard to imagine not knowing politics. That the fact that most Americans don't get involved in politics,
Right.
and 99% of Americans are completely unaware of politics going on,
just
and yet sometimes
ambivalent moderates.
Yeah.
Those are the
moderates.
happy people.
the happy people exactly.
The blissfully unaware.
Blissfully unaware, but then sometimes you wish you could go to that, because once you start going into the rabbit hole of politics, it just never ends.
Oh yeah, like American electoral politics. It's just so many different webs and layers of corruption and just like little intricacies you gotta understand, all the super PACs and how they work, between Pete Buttigieg's campaign. As all of these things start unraveling, your brain just starts fizzling out and burning out. I don't know how these journalists do it, for NPR and MSNBC, how they're in the newsroom 18 hours a day.
They get paid. I mean,
lots and lots of money.
MSNBC has a lot of advertising money coming in. I think that's your answer there.
Yeah.
I'm taken with the brazenness of it, with the clearly dumbass puppet Pete Buttigieg.
CIA chief.
Even to be competing. I mean, he's 38 years old.
38 years old.
Yeah.
Mayor South Bend. Indiana.
His official term
on,
now,
man,
he's
really?
former mayor of South
Former
Bend.
mayor.
He's being taken seriously. Mike Bloomberg just purchased his way into a race after Cory Booker was told no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not racist.
Well,
he's
Cory
spending-
Booker did make $300,000 donation to the DNC.
Right. So, and he's
800,000.
black. So, the DNC figured, screw him. Mike Bloomberg, a white guy, comes with $7 trillion and he's in.
Yeah. He's spending so much money now that he's pushing like everyone else's ads, like Bernie's and Warren's and Pete's, to the bottom of like the playlist. So his ads come up first because he gives them so much money, he just drowns out the rest of the candidates. It's insane.
And the clear reason why Bloomberg's being propped up in the media is because of the advertising revenue that they're going to make from his campaign. I mean,
Google and Facebook have made over $1 billion in just this, like the past 6 months.
Citizens United took us. We were on a slippery slope anyway because capitalism sucks. But Citizens United has plunged us into just this corporate run government, which is what Benito Mussolini defined as fascism. This is fascism. Our corporations completely run the system, and I think Bernie's a genuine guy. I'll be honest, I've followed Bernie's career for a long time. I was a huge Bernie fan before I got into the harder left. And
he gets Cornel West on stage.
West, and look, it's hard to argue that the country wouldn't be moving forward with Bernie as president and his international and his foreign policy is just as messy as Elizabeth Warren's and everybody else's. And I got my problems with Bernie, but the idea that like the whole establishment is against him just shows you what the hell are we talking about when we talk about the establishment. We're talking about a couple of rich guys who pull the strings on everything.
Yeah, and even the Democratic Party is looking more like a corporation, the way it's structured.
Oh yeah,
and the way they take in money. Even in their like actual manifests, they define themselves as a corporation.
It's how it
and
works.
They're a private entity.
Kiss your ass from the bottom, from the time you want to run for school board to the time you want to run for president. You got to kiss the ring. I sat in shops and heard. I'm an eavesdropper like a motherfucker, and I heard these conversations, and I've sat in rooms where it's like, oh, we like what you're doing for the party. Just support me. I'll support you. They don't give a shit about your community. They make them up. They make up community
Vote
ties.
blue no matter who.
They give you a job in a labor union. They sit you in the back office for 4 years. You don't do anything, and then they prop you up in front of an office and say, sure, they're a champion of workers' rights. They did nothing. They're an idiot. And this is how our political system works in the Democratic Party. That's how the Democratic Party works. It's a gigantic facade. There's not a smart person from there all the way up over the political class. The people with the money, the elite at that corporate level are the ones that are smart and the ones that are pulling the strings. Everybody else is a fucking moron. I'm telling you. Yep. You look into their eyes when you try to talk to them. They're vapid and they don't hear a word you're saying.
Smooth-brained.
Smooth-brained. Even like the purpose of the party, like they're not running to change policy. They're just running to like generate revenue. Like their constant slogan is
gotta
get
win.
the vote out.
Win.
It's the knock and drag.
Win.
You just gotta win.
Win.
So donate.
Just win. Doesn't
donate
matter. Policy. Nobody cares about policy.
Why are we running?
How many black door knockers do you have?
Yeah.
Are you going into an Oriental area? How many Oriental door knockers do you have? Are you going to student area? How many student door knockers do you have? GOTV, and it's boiled down to every organization they've corrupted. Labor unions are basically GOTV machines for the Democratic Party, and they even run it now in their own internal campaigns for crappy contracts. It's a big friggin' joke, and nobody is paying attention to the working class and the working class issues until the Green Party starts saying something about it, or one of these fringe parties start actually making some headway, like Shama Sawant in Seattle winning the Seattle city council seat, and then beating Bezos and staying on the city council despite him spending like
a quadrillion dollars.
I mean, just some, and you'll never know how much money that asshole spent because you don't even have to report all of it anymore.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's fucked.
Right. So for her to set that example, and so then that boils up into the progressive Democrats, and they water it down into a $15 an hour minimum wage over a 500-year phase-in, right?
Yeah.
So it does work, but I forgot our point. I was babbling there, didn't I?
Talk about how shitty the Democratic Party is.
Democratic Party.
Yeah,
Those are the kinds of things that the left and the hard left affects in there. But the Democratic Party itself, the structure, the people running it, its money, its careers, its promotions, it's not a democratic system by any means.
No, I wouldn't even call it a party because it's like a monolith in the American politics. We were even taught in school we have a two-party system, even though that's not how the law is set up.
Right.
But the way it functions is that it's almost like an autocracy between these two parties.
Yeah.
And if, like, we see these congressmen always voting in line with their congressman or their party line, so they get reelected. So they run and vote only to be able to run again. So, like, we think, like, we have 400 votes and equal representation among the people with our congressmen. But if you think about it, we only have, like, 2 votes. Either you're with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. There's no other leeway other than 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And no other representation than 1 or 2.
Yeah, and I think it's, it really came to the curtain was really peeled back in the 2015-2016 primaries with Bernie Sanders, and I think that it was an eye-opening experience for a lot of Democrats to just sort of see like the brazen corruption that was going on behind the scenes.
Worse,
I mean, the fact that like every single superdelegate right from the get-go just said they were going to support Hillary no matter what. I think that would disillusion a lot of Democrats, and really push them towards the left. And for me, that was actually an eye-opening experience for me because then I was still a little bit like brainwashed into the Democratic Party, like, oh, vote blue no matter who. Right. I think that moment was really when I was like, all right, you know what, like, fuck the Democratic Party, fuck this system, like this is bullshit.
And what'll be frustrating is you're gonna, because you're a young man, you can keep watching that movie over and over every 4 years.
I'm just waiting for that to happen.
I do hope that the political consciousness that you gained continues to be gained throughout the proletariat, because man, that wasn't the first movie I saw that's the same ending.
Yeah. But I think what's frustrating though is that you see what's going on and you try to tell other people about it, about what you've seen, and they think you're insane. Yes. Like I this is the shittiest. I know it's not something you're supposed to do, but like I shit post on Facebook political groups.
Good for you.
And, great for me. I deserve a clap on the back for that. But especially in my old hometown, which has I think like a 60% like senior senior community.
Senior human
community. And so they're all on the fucking Facebook pages, and it's even on the Democratic page, the liberal page, I would talk about like, oh, the DNC is rigging the election, and it'd just be like, no, they're not. I don't believe you.
I love this narrative about the Russian bots running the discourse.
Yes, I'm one of those because I'm with the Green Party.
Yeah.
I've been called a Putin puppet.
We don't actually exist. All of this is
we're all just paid Russian, pollsters. God, I wish I was paid. Putin, when are you gonna pay me the $100 you owe me?
He's a cheap bastard.
Yeah, God.
I mean, there was the Mike Bloomberg endorsement last episode.
Yeah, so we got
$15,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll do a Mike Bloomberg endorsement.
Oh, I'll endorse the shit out of Mike Bloomberg for $15,000.
Shit, man.
Just go behind him back in a phone bank.
I don't think he's going to give it to me, but you
should try.
He is a smart businessman.
Although Mike Bloomberg is now endorsing Larry Ham for NJ Senator.
What?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
I got an email. I'm on the Michael Bloomberg email list, and I got an emailing for Michael Bloomberg supporting Larry Ham to try and get rid of Cory Booker.
That ain't true.
Yeah. But he's running under the Bernie ticket in New Jersey.
I think Michael
he's
Bloomberg
trying to get African American.
Yeah, I think he is trying to poach.
He's trying to do everything he can.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying to poach the Larry Ham, from support from Bernie by basically bankrolling him. And let me see if I can post up. Yeah, here you go. From the Bloomberg 2020 campaign, let's show Cory Booker the door. Cory Booker was an absentee mayor in Newark and spent most of his time in Washington, D.C., trying to get out of the Senate. Now, after wasting years on a pointless presidential campaign, Booker is seeking re-election to get another 6 years. We have a chance to show this carpet-bagging, selfish celebrity the door. And then they have the pig from Toy Story, and then a link that says, "We are writing to ask you to contribute today to civil rights activist Larry Ham, a representative who fights for the people, not corporations."
And then I like how they have the Facebook emblem, but they exported the alpha channel on Photoshop as the whole thing is a JPEG.
It's just a JPEG picture with like the checker marks and everything.
Yeah, with like when you make a PNG in Photoshop, you know how you have the checkerboards behind you? They exported the alpha channel too, instead of just exporting the actual logo.
Yeah,
I like Larry a lot. I know him, and I would think he might reject that endorsement. I'm not.
He will, because he's running under Bernie's ticket.
Yeah, I should talk for Larry. I shouldn't talk for Larry. I'm not associated with Larry. I'm not endorsing Larry. I love Larry though, and as a person and a guy, he's been around, done a lot of shit. So, People's Organization for Progress was a great tool in my political education. God damn this chair! I'm sorry. The People's Organization for Progress was a great tool in my political education, and so that's kind of interesting to hear that endorsement just came down. You shocked me with that one. Listen, Bloomberg's. I mean, he's.
No, Mike, you can't buy him.
I'm pretty. And no, you can't buy Larry. I don't. You know what? You can't buy Larry. I'll tell you what. You can't buy Larry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what Larry does with this endorsement, he does. But I know that he's not for sale. I'll tell you that. Larry's out there saying stuff that he's been saying for 30 years. He's like Bernie in that respect. That he's saying the same shit he's been saying for 30 or 40 years.
He's been active in Newark for like his entire.
He grew up. He was a he was a school board member when he was 17. Really? So he's been involved in politics and electoral politics and all that stuff for a very long time. And I wish him the best of luck. I always say this: he's running, for the party that I'm not a member of. So I wish him the best of luck, and I hope he fails. But he knows on a personal level I'm always willing to have a beer with Larry and talk, because he's not only a good guy, but he's a very important guy when it comes to New Jersey activism.
I'm excited to meet him personally as well.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man. He's a good guy to have a conversation with.
Well, we're meeting him on Saturday with the Bernie campaign.
Tomorrow?
Yep. We've been
tomorrow's Saturday.
Doing campaigning for the Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, right. Tell Larry I said hi. I won't be there.
All right, perfect. I'll let him know that.
Maybe we can get him on our podcast.
I'll tell Larry that you think you're too cool to meet with him.
Huh? Nah, I haven't seen Larry in a while.
He's gonna be like Brian was on Red Star Radio. No, I gotta be on Red Star.
You know what? Tell him Brian. Yeah, tell him Brian was on, and that'll get him up there. He does. He shares a lot of my stuff, New Jersey Revolution Radio stuff.
Really?
Yeah. So I know he's a fan. He's a fan. And we would have him on, but we have a policy about not having active Democratic candidates on. We don't put you on if you're campaigning as a Democrat.
That's fair. Because then it could show that it would seem as though you're tacitly supporting him.
Exactly. Well, it's not even that. Like, I'd love to, right after the elections are over or whatever. And I don't know that I hope. If he wins, would I have him on? He is Larry Ham. He is different. But I'll tell you this: we just do that because we feel like Democrats and establishment people have enough platforms for themselves. That's fair. New Jersey Revolution Radio is for the left, for the communists, for the activists, for social justice. So I think if you're an elected, or if you're running for an elected position with corporate parties, you got enough time and media for you out there. Yeah. So it's not a personal thing. It's just we're for the people.
It's for politics.
Yeah. I'd like to have Larry on though.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
He's a great interview.
We'll get anyone on.
He's a great interview and a great guy. Yeah.
Bloomberg he's not, I'm sure you say you're not really keeping up with what's been going on, but the various you're more familiar with union politics and everything, and the recent culinary union.
Yeah. Well, do you know any unions that have like endorsed Bloomberg? Because he's like championing himself as like a union guy, all for the working man. And then in New York, he cut the public health care for all New York employees.
Yeah.
He also he stepped on the teachers union worse than Christie did in New Jersey.
He's an oligarch. He's always treated like, he's going to always pay lip
service. Not to mention
they're not known for their kindness to the working class. And even I saw today, I'm not sure where I saw it, and I don't know the source on anything, but I believe he said it, that you motivate people, they're addicted to 3 meals a day. So that's how you motivate people. This guy, union, non-union workers or whatever, everybody under Bloomberg going to get treated you like shit.
Yeah.
Because you ain't an important person to him.
No sodas for you.
Yeah.
Banned sodas in New York.
You know what? I think was the most telling was during the debates that happened on Friday. You probably didn't watch most of it, but
not a second.
I just remember watching the highlights of it, and anytime someone criticized Bloomberg, his eyes would roll. Like, how dare this peasant speak ill of me? How dare you?
I saw some of the commentary about it. I didn't see any of the debate itself.
It was just like he was so. The way he debates, it's very obvious that he's not used to having people question him, because he would say something, people would like be like, well, actually, Bloomberg, I disagree, and he would be like, his eyes would roll, and he would get this super I'm going to shoot your dog later look on his face. So this guy is definitely just, I feel like even possibly a sociopath, because he just does not.
How do you get $70 billion?
You don't get to $70 billion without being a sociopath.
You have to be something.
I mean, have you seen Jeff Bezos' solar size?
That is true. Yeah.
There has to be something wrong with you for you to need that much money. What do you need that much money for? I don't even know what you do with that.
I wouldn't even know what to do with $1 million.
Yeah, you can't even conceptualize $1 billion.
It's a ridiculous amount of money. It's unnecessary. It's so unnecessary for somebody to have that much.
Yeah.
And I think that it was Bernie that pointed out, this guy's up here. He's got more money than 120 million of you.
The amount of money that
literally
Bernie spent in his entire campaign, Mike Bloomberg made in the duration of the debate.
Yeah.
Just an interest from his portfolio.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just go get it. Just take it.
He's like,
stop.
Bernie Sanders has 3 houses, and then,
what's stopping 120 million people from going to Mike Bloomberg's house and be like, fork it over? You know what I mean?
Money.
Give me my money. Stop. What are you doing with it?
I guess the entirety of the NYPD.
Yeah, the NYPD.
Who they declared war on De Blasio.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they've done that before. Well, they've done that before. They did that for Dinkins. They rioted. They stormed City Hall.
When was that?
Oh, those New York pigs are out of their minds. Yeah. They really are. Yeah. They got that racist guy goes on Fox News all the time as a union president, and that police department is half black. I'm so confused. Yeah. I really am as to how anybody in any organization, regardless of color, could let somebody so racist spat out that nonsense on Fox News like this guy's been getting away with for years and years and years. The New York City PBA president. I want to name him because he's an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just under capitalism, race, age, gender doesn't really have any distinction, because everybody is still going to be serving the capitalist class. A pig is a pig is a pig. It doesn't matter what breed it is, So
just class traders.
Exactly, class traders and all. So
Patrick Lynch.
Oh, well.
Patrick Lynch.
Fuck that guy.
Asshole.
Yeah, I mean, shit.
And for him to be, cop unions ain't unions, and all I got to do is point at that guy to show you why.
Yeah.
He's overtly racist. He's constantly on Fox News, and he's the head of the NYC Police Department, which purports to represent officers of all colors.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder how, Muslims, African Americans, Latinos, other minorities can serve in the military. It's the same thing.
Yeah, but with the NYPD, you can't even consider it a guild. It's because they're literally a gang.
The corporate gang.
Yeah. Capitalist gang.
Capitalist gang. There we go. All right.
Speaking of the PBA and unions, Nevada Culinary Union recently was going to endorse either Bloomberg or Biden, but they rescinded on that after all their members came out against them. We're like, what the fuck are you doing? The entire rank and file is voting for Bernie, and because they want healthcare for all, but the union leaders are like, no, our negotiated healthcare is a privilege.
Yeah,
so
we campaign hard for our right to have healthcare. So why should national healthcare just take that away?
First off, I want to see these healthcare plans that they campaign so hard for, because I know a lot of unions with some shitty healthcare plans. So they better stop. And you've heard this line over and over from media people, which is driving me. MSNBC loves saying, people like their healthcare plans. Could you start introducing me to these fucking people?
People don't like their plans. They like their doctors.
They don't like shit. Nobody likes anything about this healthcare system.
Yeah, because I asked them,
it's ridiculous.
Do you like your healthcare plan, or do you like not having a healthcare plan? So they say, I like my healthcare plan, and they run that soundbite.
I can't see the doctor I want right now because I had to change healthcare plans because I changed jobs.
Yeah.
I gotta get back my old job so I can go see my doctor that I saw for 20 years, by the way. I mean, like, get out of here. Everybody with this, but that's the line, right? People like what they fought for. They line, they negotiated for their plan. We all need healthcare, douchebags. Okay, whether you have a job or not, whether you're in a union or not, every human being needs healthcare.
And then meanwhile, one of the leaders of the union or the culinary union is like on a super PAC that donates to Biden.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like, oh, there it is.
Union leadership.
It's part of that democratic corruption.
Just like political leadership, just like the NGO, these all entrenched power, unchallenged power. Union members need to wake up. They need to pressure their union leaders to start doing the right thing. And I've heard examples of that by forming caucuses. We've seen the Chicago Teachers Union have some successful, worker-led, member-led drives.
And the Teamsters for a Democratic Union.
TDU does, tries to put pressure on. Well, they're a part of the Teamsters. They actually get Teamsters funds to run an office and stuff. They have a cat. There's a cat in the office. Teamsters TV.
Oh, really?
But you need to be able to build movements within locals, and ultimately, a lot of these union leaders need to be replaced and taken out by younger and better leadership. And some of them are just so entrenched that they just need to die off, quite frankly. I mean, some of these people are untouchable. There's way too many appointments into union power. There's way too many high-level executive positions that are appointed by whatever, and it becomes
like how Jimmy Hoffa's son is now the president.
Yeah, Jimmy Hoffa Jr. is now he's our president. I'm a Teamster. I'm a member of Local 115. They helped get me my job back. So shout out to them. They represent a lot of sanitation workers, but they also represent some staff unions here in New Jersey, which I'll give a shout out to my BA Rob, helped me get my job back. So
nice.
I mean, but it's that there's as much a problem with the political climate in unions, and just like we said, Trump is the symptom of a disease, right? Great, we can put Michael Bloomberg in there. That's the solution, right? Well, again, the disease is the same, and it's producing even worse and worse rotaviruses now. And so the union movement's the same way. You've got apathetic union members that weren't brought up in union households, maybe with union. I grew up in a time where 30%, my dad was part of that 40% union membership, and so a lot of my generation, my age group was raised by union people, but my kids aren't being raised our generation's kids aren't being raised in union households. And so that generational education about labor and what labor unions do for you in your home isn't there anymore. And so, we need to focus on getting members that still exist engaged, because I hate to tell people, but the private sector union movement is dead already. It's been dead. It's dead. Deader than a doornail. It's like at 4%, 5%. It's dead. They're coming after public sector now. The model worked, and they're using the model in the public sector.
Yep, it's absolutely a shame. I'm in the NJEA.
Yeah.
So they're trying to basically privatize the public school system as well as the union system.
And they're not just trying to.
In a lot of places they're succeeding. My place, don't want to name where I'm working, but it's pretty good. We've got a very high membership count. But even in there, we've got a lot of apathetic members, some members who will attend a meeting and then immediately run off to the principal and the board of education.
Speaking of apathetic members, I was thinking of joining like the Directors Guild or the Local 52 for grips and film sets.
Oh, cool.
And but in the IATSE, like this is the only place I've heard of this, but people are actively like scabbing on themselves, where they'll go under a pseudonym and work around under no contract gigs.
Wow.
And work against the contract that the IATSE set up for them, just so they can get more money and get another guy out of a job. It's like a culture of just to scab on
capitalism.
It's insane,
capitalism, and you study.
What's the point of a union?
Mao talks about lumpen behaviors and the things that proletariat do to survive in a capitalist environment, and I wouldn't classify it as lumpen is not criminal behavior like lumpen is, but it's still unethical behavior.
Yeah.
But it's the economics that we're forced into is the same reason why you just have happy to have a job, right? How many times be happy to have a job? My job pays $8 an hour. I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Stop. I mean, don't just be happy to have a job. Be happy to have a job that meets your material needs.
Yeah.
Be happy to have a job with a boss that lets you take off a sick day without giving you a whole fucking rash of shit about it.
I want what I want what I'm owed for what I'm producing.
Or at least have a contract and not work in this whole gig economy now.
I'm not happy to have a job. I'm happy to have a job where I'm treated with respect, and I feel like I'm gaining in the wealth of that I'm producing, and we don't have that anywhere in this country anymore. It's not how capitalism works. Somebody else gets that wealth. Somebody else gets that profit. Mm-hmm. Somebody else takes pride in the work. You just do it.
Yeah.
And that's not rewarding. And that's, Marx talked a lot about the social relation to our work, right? And we don't have that under capitalism. So, where as a podcaster or as a union rep, I do have that social relationship to my work. And that's where I've always felt more comfortable is when I had that. When I was a blue-collar guy putting together a phone system for billionaires, I didn't have that social relationship with work.
No.
So I didn't really I actually liked the job itself, the manual labor and stuff like that. But I really much preferred, having a social relationship that's engaged in my labor.
Yeah. Being involved within your work, it's...
Yeah, well, have agency in it and have people care about you and you care about that.
Exactly. So that's, when you see labor unions doing things like what you're talking about, like, endorsing wrong candidates and stuff, it's a symptom of a disease. They're disconnected because of the way they came into the movement. Their daddy got them their job as a staff rep when they were young and they came up like that. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a bad staff rep. I know great staff reps with college backgrounds, educated, and they know labor law way better than I do. I got to look at books for stuff that they know in their heads. So, but it's got to be that mix too of culture and respect between the two. And I think that when I look at the labor union movement, I see a lot of spoiled children. I see a lot of spoiled children with high salaries who, quite frankly, don't deserve them. That maybe they need to go back and get a job, pump gas for a couple of years, come back into, start your own labor union there, and then come back and tell me about your principles of labor and shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, it seems as though the teachers' union is waking up a little bit.
Good. Yeah. Well, I hope so, and we need all unions to wake up a lot.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I mean, shit. Unions reading about what unions used to be like and seeing the state of them today, it's insane. Just how much they've sold out, essentially. Especially back in the 70s and the 80s with the mob in Jersey, the association with the mob and everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Crazy shit that's going on.
Have you seen The Irishman yet?
No.
Yeah, neither have I.
No, is it about Hoffa or?
Yeah, and the Teamsters. It's 3 hours long.
Okay. I remember that one line they were talking about how
have you seen it?
I've seen clips of it, and most about the special effects, but also some of the storyline. Apparently, they talk about how if they try to, the mobs would get stuff done with the union, make connections with the unions, and then they would have the unions go on strike, try and force businesses to do things that the mob wanted the business to do.
Yeah.
So crazy shit like that.
Yeah, they're just the political arm of the mob.
Yeah. But unions, hopefully there needs to be a shake-up. Too much, It's too many union members have just been happy to just rest on their laurels and talk about how great they used to be and not do the work that needs to be done.
Unions ain't great right now, man.
No.
They're in a shit situation. They're subservient to the Democratic Party. They're not listening to their members.
Yeah.
They don't have the tools to organize. I'm seeing them wake up, though. I do, and I'm making general, broad, sweeping negative statements. But at the same time, I am seeing unions wake up. I'm seeing people like Justin O'Hay, and you, and some other people around the state of New Jersey who are taking seriously. At least a progressive movement within labor unions.
Yeah, they just need a little kick in the ass in the economics.
If you want to take, some people want to take the Democratic Party back. I don't agree with that strategy myself, but if you got that attitude, we need to take. You talked about the Democratic Party is not a monolith. These unions are part of the Democratic Party. They're part of that ether that's out there that comes together for the Democratic Party. You need to take your unions over too.
Yeah.
You can't just jump up and run for Congress, man. You can't just jump up and run for assembly. Go run your labor union. Go become a shop steward.
Yeah, someone needs to tell us to
start a food garden. Go feed homeless people.
Yeah.
I've seen way too many people just jump up because I'm a successful businessman and now I'm going to run for state assembly. Get the hell out of here, dude.
That's how we gauge
experience
people.
doesn't even translate. Yeah, or I'm Michael Bloomberg and I want to run for president.
I made 50 times as much as Donald Trump, so I'll be 50 times as good.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel as though Bloomberg would be way
hear
worse
him
than
saying
Trump.
that.
He'd be
Yeah.
I could so
absolutely
hear him saying
horrible.
that. Oh my god.
Bloomberg presidency would objectively be worse than Trump.
Because he's efficient.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're both
sly.
racist, sexist, like monoliths who are
fascists.
capitalists, fascists. But Trump is incompetent and he's a
Bloomberg
bully
really
and a
likes
coward.
Israel.
Yeah, Bloomberg. Yeah,
Bloomberg would model us right after Israel because that's
Oh,
where he modeled
God.
the police
Yeah,
department.
yeah, he got training for the NYPD
Yeah.
from Israel.
Yeah, so you would see a state very similar to the Israeli
Can
state.
you imagine? He just takes all the black
You
people.
worried about a wall?
Yeah, builds a fuck, surrounds the entire Bronx ghetto.
He turns Bronx into
I
Rikers
could see
Island.
it. I could
Just all
actually
of
see
Bronx.
it. He loves the Israeli security model.
Oh my
He
God.
bragged that he had the world's ninth largest private army in the NYPD.
Yep.
So, like you mentioned, the surveillance systems he had set up, all that stuff.
And even the cross-border spying. He had CIA agents.
Put that guy in charge of the CIA.
Oh my
Woo-hoo, he's gonna kill everybody he can find.
Yeah.
He's gonna have a blast.
It's like you ever watch
He'll throw darts at a board of world
You ever
leaders.
watch Captain America Winter Soldier, I believe it is?
No.
Where Tony Stark gets the fucking space, like flying airships that can track every single person in America.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
It's basically
That's
Michael
Bloomberg.
He's
It's
gonna have
Michael
that.
Bloomberg.
He could
We
be like,
are. Look, we're getting really close, and I can't believe. First off, that Tesla hasn't. The guy who's the Tesla. Elon Musk. How he has not turned into Dr. Octopus yet? I don't even know. Jeff Bezos.
The way he dresses, he kind of looks like it.
Jeff Bezos is clearly going to be flying on a surfboard shooting laser beams at something at some point. I mean, we're getting.
He'll have like a droid army, just like attack everyone.
yeah.
Or we'll all have cybernetic.
See it
Amazon
happening.
implants.
Yeah, Bezos coming out of the roof of Amazon with a bunch of drones carrying packages, behind him.
Yeah.
All of our like antennas light up from inside our skulls, like Amazon Prime Day.
Oh
about to
God. Yes.
See, and this is
Connect to the
this is
Amazonia.
why weed before podcasts makes so much sense, brother.
You know what they call them in the warehouses? Amazonians.
Amazonians.
Yeah,
The
my wife.
culture of Amazon is Amazonia.
That's
Amazonians.
fucking gross. Do they still use that currency, the Amazon current tokens?
Yeah, that's how you get your raises in Amazon bucks.
Good morning.
Company script.
Ah, you're up.
It's a little power nap there.
But yeah, shit. I can already imagine that fucking happening.
I mean, it is happening with most of our
Yeah,
workplaces.
True. I mean, apparently,
Amazon hires like 30,000 people, I think, in New Jersey. Like, half of them in Carteret and Newark.
Well, yeah. Well, they hire them. They work there for like 6 months, and then
It's seasonal work.
they have a heart attack and die or break their leg, and then they fire.
Yeah. If they find them.
Yeah.
Underneath all the boxes.
they have a heart attack, crawl into a corner, and die. 4 months later, they get found.
Basically.
Or he winds up in a box going to like Arizona
Someone's
or
house.
something.
Yeah. Oh shit! I mean, just imagining like the Michael Bloomberg becomes president and like he's like, I like to introduce my new surveillance system to keep us all safe. And fucking ships just rise out of the fucking ground.
Yeah, I can see it, man. I mean,
Soon there was, and you showed me that video of Michael Bloomberg like Mary Poppins off into space.
Oh yeah, holy shit.
Maybe I'll go to the next city.
New Hampshire, Iowa. Maybe I'll make the whole country behave.
Yeah, now I can make you all
This is like
behave.
2007 when he's just like, Stop and Frisk is at its height.
Yep.
We're getting there.
Now I shall make the whole world behave. Oh God, yeah. Michael Bloomberg, all the CIA and FBI agents start having to have like sponsorships on them.
Yeah.
They come out and they're like, McFreeze.
Or the Amazon squad, it's like the top detective squad, cybercrime, and they show up at your house and just kill
Don't
you.
they do security contracts now and shit?
Yeah.
The same people
They
that'll
sued
ship you
Trump
crap.
because he was going to give all of the networking and cloud computing that the CIA uses from Amazon to Microsoft. So they struck that down and said, no, we own the CIA
Bless you.
and all of their servers.
Thank you.
And surprisingly, like 3/4 of the entire world's like internet is hosted on Amazon servers, and the FBI and the NSA and the CIA.
Whack.
Yeah, we're already there, sort of. Well, it just has to be signed into law.
So, the FBI agents that are monitoring this podcast right now,
Yeah.
I bet they have a nice warm feeling.
Yeah,
It's like,
fuck
oh, they mentioned me.
Like, you get a shout out.
Yeah, you get a shout out to the FBI servers hosts who are keeping this podcast alive. Thank you for not pulling our show.
All of our listeners come from that one base in Virginia.
Yeah, all 80 of our weekly viewers are actually just the FBI agents who follow us.
Which I'm glad we have an audience, at least with one group of people.
Yep. All right, well, I mean, shit, I think that's everything that we want to talk about. Anything you would like to shout out for yourself, Brian?
Yeah, man. Just
closure.
Yeah, check us out, www.njrevolutionradio.com. Weekly live streams. We go out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and something else I forget. All that stuff. Every Wednesday night at 8 p.m., me and Diane Moxley do a show where we do activist wrap-ups and featured interviews. Every other Monday, my partner Heather Warburton puts out Wine, Women, and Revolution. Plus, we now have video productions. We do events. We do all kinds of stuff. So check us out. And if you want to work with us, shoot us an email. We'll get in touch.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. This is Red Star Radio signing off. Ciao. Pow, pow.